I think one of the more interesting stories here is that Joe Biden will not be on the ballot in New Hampshire, which is strange. And there are activists staging a write-in campaign for Joe Biden, which surprised me. I was watching Fox News earlier, and they interviewed a woman who was holding up a sign saying write in Joe Biden. I was like, I've never seen a Joe Biden supporter before. I guess there are some.
When they have to write in, they appear.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that happens. But, you know, while many people are talking about what's going on with the Republican primaries, how it's basically a big waste of time, Trump's going to win, and they're trying to keep Trump's name off the ballots in these states, Democrats have just basically shut down their primary, not allowing anyone to challenge Joe Biden. So why is he not on the ballot? And what's the strategy here?
They changed their rules. So they stripped Iowa, the first in the nation caucuses, of their delegates to try to discourage them from having caucuses. They didn't have them. The New Hampshire primary is mandated by New Hampshire state law, not the Democratic National Committee rules. So to punish them for having the primary anyway, they both strip them of their delegates within the convention, and Biden doesn't put his name on the ballot. Now, New Hampshire is a state where writing in a name is really very simple. Dwight Eisenhower won the Republican primary there he wasn't even on the ballot. He won as a write-in in 1952. Henry Cabot Lodge won the nomination or the primary there in 1964 in a write-in. It's very simple to do. Now they fear being embarrassed by this little-known congressman who did file for the primary, Dean Phillips, who I don't know much about. So now they are hustling to get out a vote for Joe Biden.
Well, there's Marianne Williamson as well.
And Marianne Williamson.
I don't believe Cenk Uygur is on the ballot in New Hampshire either. I'm not following that. I know that he's gotten on in some states, but of course he was not born in the United States or to American parents. So there's a Supreme Court ruling basically. I mean, there's a constitution saying you have to be a natural born citizen, but there was also a ruling already rejecting his argument as to why, after being, Cenk Uygur is arguing that he is a citizen in full rights, as same as anybody else, so he should be allowed to run. There's an interesting argument to be made there, but I don't know if he's going to appear on the ballot. But I would say that if, even with this write-in campaign, I think it's possible that Marianne Williamson wins this one.
Maybe. I mean, the big tension for me is that now the DNC has really isolated the New Hampshire branch of the Democratic Party. They sent them the assistant attorney general sent this letter to them. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. It was a cease and desist letter saying you cannot, in writing, which they did. The Rules Committee for the DNC sent a letter to the New Hampshire Democratic Party saying if you hold anything during the primary, it's meaningless. And you should not encourage voters to do anything. And this is discouraging people from voting. This is voter interference, voter suppression. And it's really building tension between this party and this national mega group that says, you guys have to comply with what we want, even if it's against your state laws.
I would say it's anti-democracy, wouldn't you?
I would too. I mean, it's actual voter suppression to say it's meaningless, right? That's crazy.
Well, look, the Democratic National selection process was pre-wired. Their first real contest is South Carolina, where you have an absolute majority of African-American primary voters. I have predicted for some time Joe has had the way cleared for him to win enough delegates to be nominated, but that would not stop him just before the Democratic National Convention, which just happens to be in Chicago, to announce that he's decided not to run for reasons of health, throw the convention open to the selection of another candidate. Michelle Obama will say, oh, I'm not interested. I don't want it. No, thank you. I don't want to do it. Okay, I'll do it.
What'll happen is she'll say, oh, no, I couldn't do it. And then you'll start hearing chants of Michelle.
Yeah, she'll be drafted.
And she'll smile. And then Barack will come out and he'll say, I think this nation needs a leader. And I'm going to ask you right now here on stage to take this responsibility for this country and answer the call. And she's going to wipe away a tear and say, I'll do it. And they're going to go, wah! Maybe. We'll see.
Feign becoming like the biggest beta male on earth. He'll be like, I am the first man. What are you gonna say, Roger?
I am the first man.
Look, I've been predicting this openly for 2 years. I see Bill O'Reilly had a column today. I still think she will be the nominee of the Democratic Party. By the way, I think she'll be a very strong, formidable candidate. People who make jokes about it are making a gigantic mistake.
I agree.
Like a year ago, that's why I pegged too. I mean, she's got the biggest star name. She's got the Obama name, superstar. Her Oprah.
Non-political, not viewed as political, one of the most admired women in the country. I still think she will be their strongest possible candidate.
So we've had a bunch of we've had a bunch of predictions as to what we think may happen. One prediction is that Nikki Haley is in the bag for Democrats. She's getting Democrat votes and supporters and voters. She's getting voters and donors. And one of the ideas that Vivek brought up, which I thought was good, is why actually try and win a contest in November when all you have to do is try and supplant Trump in the primary with someone like Nikki Haley, who is an establishment favorite as well. Now, I don't know how likely that's going to be. It looks like she's going to get just wiped out, and then she doesn't have any opportunity to move forward, especially with DeSantis and Vivek now being out of the race. It's just her. She's not going anywhere. But then you have the potential or the question that we've brought up. I've been saying this for some time, that Biden will not be the nominee. I think he is going to drop out. I think it's going to be health reasons. A JP Morgan strategist believes that come March, around Super Tuesday, Biden will announce he's dropping out. This opens the door. So many people countered saying, no, they can't, Tim. It's too late for a primary. And the response is, that's perfect. It allows them to avoid a Bernie Sanders situation or a Marianne Williamson or RFK situation. It allows them to stop any of these candidates from gaining traction and gaining delegates so that when they, as you describe, Roger, Biden drops out, they can just at an open convention, super delegate Michelle Obama or Gavin Newsom. Yeah,
they can control the convention that way. But Kamala Harris is a problem for them because in any normal scenario, she'd be next in line. She's the sitting vice president, but they also fear she can't win an election either.
They would be correct.
And within the construct of their party, she represents a very important constituency. She's a woman of color. So how do you justify bypassing her? I think the answer is Barack Obama persuades her that when the first Supreme Court nomination becomes available, if they win the presidency and control of the Senate, she's a former Attorney General of California. She gets that job. She graciously steps aside, and we have a ticket that is comprised of Michelle Obama for president and Gavin Newsom for vice president. And Gavin can raise hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of special interest dollars for that ticket.
That's a good backroom explanation. Kamala Harris will be offered a Supreme Court seat, but they're not going to publicly say that.
No,
I think it's actually really, really simple. A lot of people said, how do you get past Kamala Harris? It's really simple. Joe Biden announces he's stepping down or he's suffering a health issue. Kamala Harris, I think there could be an instance where Joe Biden actually says, I can no longer perform my duties. I need Kamala to serve as acting president. Kamala simply says, I will not try to seek a presidency when I'm filling this role. It would be irresponsible or it would be wrong to try and win an election this late in the game. I'll just do my duties and then bow out.
Here's why I don't think that happens. I think Joe needs to maintain the legal authority to pardon his son and his brother and himself and the other members of the Biden crime family. He's wanted this job his entire life. I don't think Dr. Jill's anxious to go by any means. So I think I once agreed with you. I thought that he left early. I don't think he leaves early. I think he fills out the term, but just doesn't run.
I mean, they're all one big happy family tree, son. You know what I mean? Committing treason. So I'm half kidding. Why wouldn't he just, along with his cronies, go to Kamala and say, look, pardon Hunter, me, and anybody else. I'll bow out 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, or whatever. It's all yours.
Because it would eradicate her political career.
No, she gets to be the first female president.
Well, if she pardoned all those people, it'd be like a taint on her life for the next 30 or 40 years.
Bro.
Biden's the fall guy. He's not going to be a politician.
It did cost Gerald Ford re-election.
The pardoning of Nixon.
In a very narrow race by pardoning Nixon. Had he not pardoned Nixon, I think he would have won. He lost by a hair. He lost a very close race. And that was 2 years after Watergate.
I mean, think about it. Come on. They go to Kamala and say, how would you like to be the first female president in history? Your name will never be forgotten. All you got to do, pardon the Biden crime family. You're not going to run for re-election. We'll then move you to a Supreme Court seat or something like this, but you will be in the history books forever. She says, deal. Who would not want their name to be on that plaque?
Do you risk voters who are wanting the new Democratic nominee to be a woman of color, like splitting the votes at any delegate at any convention between her and Michelle Obama if you do that?
I suppose there is the argument that if Michelle Obama is the nominee, they would be saying this could be the first woman of color to ever be president. You have to vote for her and then try and go for the woke angle. That's
and then
true,
you've already done it with Kamala, so it's,
right. So you burn that one out. But it's perhaps then how do you publicly get past Kamala Harris?
They've really created an obstacle for themselves, which is sort of hilarious because I think when they started, they really thought maybe she can be the heir apparent. Maybe it'll be fine, which is crazy.
I don't think they thought that. I think they were like, we can't have stodgy old white men with all these progressives. You need a woman of color in there somewhere.
Yeah, I think she doesn't even know why she's there.
I actually think Biden accidentally painted himself in a corner. I don't think it was in the plan. He blurted out, I'm going to have a vice president who's going to be a woman of color. He just said it.
Is that illegal? Violation of the 1964 Civil Rights Act.
One of these things
we
that has
hadn't
been
overturned affirmative action at that point, so
it's been driving me a little sideways regarding the Supreme Court. You mentioned that the Obamas might go to Kamala Harris and be like, "Well, we would consider you for the Supreme Court," or that they would just put her in the Supreme Court. Like, do we have 9 people making decisions for the entire state of Texas? That's like, I appreciate what it's done and how it stands and how it questions the legislature and how it can overturn presidential authority and stuff, but giving this kind of mass authority to 9 people that are appointed. They're not even voted into office. They're appointed by some political zealot, some president.
And then confirmed.
Like, that's so much power for such a small group of people. I don't know.
It's great. I love it. I think it's beautiful.
It's one of the brilliant things in the U.S. Constitution.
Yeah, one of the smartest things.
As long as the court is indeed not politicized.
And then when a politicized person gets appointed, they're there for life. Like,
yes.
that should be overturned. Like, there should be term limits or something.
One of the smartest political creations of mankind is the American form of government, and we take it for granted because we grew up in it. But when the founding fathers were trying to put together this system, they really did make the best that has been so far. Can it be better? Always. There are ways to improve. That's why the Constitution can be amended. So are there faults? Can we improve? We always can. We always should look for ways to do so. But at the time, the American system of government is a masterpiece. And to this day, still stands as the best form of government in the world.
And when the Supreme Court ruled against some aspects of the New Deal, Franklin Roosevelt tried exactly that, to expand the court, to pack the court. It did not go over well, and he failed.
What did he do?
He put forward a proposal to expand the court, and it was defeated in the Senate.
So there were 9 then, there's
9. There's 9 then, there's 9 now.
He wanted more. The argument is that, what do we have, 12 districts? How many?
I think that's right.
Appellate districts or whatever? That there should be a judge for each region. It's been so long since we've covered this stuff heavily. But the reason why it's brilliant is, if you break it down to the most rudimentary of forms, you have a group of people who just declared independence. You had the Articles of Confederation. You did not have a constitution. You had a very weak government. And they're trying to figure out, like, how do we run this thing? And then someone says, we should have a king. George Washington, he should be king. And they're like, no, we can't have a king because then George may be great, but what about his kids? And then there's corruption. Okay, well, what about like a direct democracy? What if people just voted? No, because then people vote for stupid things and you need some expertise in there. Okay, what about like a council of elders, appointed individuals who are of great standing within their communities? And so you have how about all 3? How about we have a council of elders, a direct democracy, a representative democracy, or I should say a constitutional representative republic, and a strong executive. We do all 3, and we make them fight each other. Checks and balances. How about we don't just choose one of these governments we've seen before? We do all of them.
Yeah, but if we're actually talking about making Kamala Harris on our council of elders, like what have we done to our national wisdom?
Beautiful. No,
she's not someone I would think of as like an elder wise man.
This is the beauty of the system.
She would be eligible for appointment and subject to confirmation of the U.S. Senate like any other citizen.
And a truly good system doesn't just always have God tier perfect people running the show. The idea that one Supreme Court justice is bad, I think, shows that there is flexibility within the system. If we had a single monarch, sure, you have problems.
You're talking about Ketanji Brown Jackson. How old is she? Because you're talking about Council of Elders. Like, what's her age? Is she really wise?
It is a figure of speech.
Yeah, I know.
I'm saying
it's not supposed to be, though. It really is supposed to be the wisest among us that sit on the Supreme Court for life.
And people are chosen and then confirmed by the Senate. And the problem here is the 17th Amendment should be. What are your thoughts on the 17th? I think we should get rid of it. I think it was Ben Sass who first proposed, not
What-
first, but
What is the 17th?
that the Senate is chosen by popular vote in the states as opposed to the state representatives.
It used to be done by the state legislatures. The state legislatures would choose U.S. senators, and then they changed it so they were done by direct election of the
And that's a
voters.
mistake. And this is what causes part of the problem. When you have people voting locally for their state reps, those reps know about your local issues. Your sitting member of Congress knows a little bit, but they're going to D.C. and they're voting on war and omnibus spending bills or whatever. So if you go and vote for a state senator or a state rep, and you say to them, you know, old Crossland Creek over there is full of garbage. We need someone to get the job done. They go, yeah, I've seen it because I live not too far away. Local representation. Then all of these people go to their session and say, who are we going to send to the federal government to represent our state? And they will choose who they think the best person is. This creates state representation as opposed to national Democrat representation. So the problem now is the Democratic Party says we want Democrats. We need statewide voting. And it's all about some federal policy as opposed to what's going on in your state, which results in senators who will confirm anybody so long as they're party line shills. Then you end up with Ketanji Brown who says, I don't know what a woman is. It's like, oh, wow. So that's a problem. I agree. And sure, we should repeal the 17th.
I think with the internet.
I disagree. I like the direct election of senators. Otherwise, all you get are career politicians. There never would ever be an opening for anyone else. So the politicians basically choose the U.S. senators. There's a time in New Jersey when two brothers were U.S. senators at the same time. Why? They were chosen by the New Jersey state legislature back in the 20s.
Yeah, I get that. I disagree.
It'd be cool
I think if people no one pays attention at all to state representation anymore. And so now you get these ads, which are remarkable to me, where it is a person running for a federal House seat in Congress saying, if you vote for me, I'm going to fix our district and clean things up. No, you're not. You're going to go to D.C. and represent the district to the federal government. You're going to vote on whether or not we bomb a country or how taxes are at the federal level. Mm-hmm. You're not going to vote at all on how we deal with garbage in our city. That's a local rep, a mayor, a councilman who does that. People don't care anymore.
We could do like an addendum to the 17th Amendment where like state governments will select their senators, but then the citizens have to confirm them to the Senate via a vote. And if they deny that, then maybe the citizens could vote for their own.
Yeah. What about the state reps will select and that has to be confirmed by popular vote?
And then if it's overturned, then the populace can vote for someone they want.
If it's overturned, the state legislature has to go back and renominate and then approve somebody else.
I mean, that's a step. I like that, like no names, like you were saying, can come out of the side lane and be like, yo, the people love me and I'm the best for the job, even though the people at the state government don't know who I am. And that person might get a shot at the Senate. I like that too. But I don't,
I just don't think you'd never get any outsiders elected. You'd always get people who are part of the system.
Because if the state could just keep nominating insiders over and over, and you have to keep saying no. At some point, the population's got to be able to put their own person
forward. And there's always
a
a family that's involved in state politics, or several of them in every state. I mean, there's sort of a control, right?
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.